Alright, in this video I'm going to unbox, install, and test out this GKU D1000 Dash Cam. Now there will be links in the description, and this is a bit of a long video, so I will put timestamps in it so you can skip around to specific portions if you want. Now this comes with a 4K forward-facing dash cam, obviously, a 1080p rear cam, and a 1080p interior camera. And the interior camera will work during the day and during the night. Now obviously there's an installation book. It is important for that QR code if you want to download the GKU app, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And obviously all the functions of the camera are explained in the guide, but I'll show some of those functions. If you are looking for where to find some information on GKU, you could also use that card right there. You get 2 window films. And in this video, I use window films for the first time. Usually I just stick things right to the window, but I do use the window films this time. And in the box, obviously you're gonna get the dash camera, which is packaged separately from all the cabling. And they do put protective films on the lenses as well as the LED screen. So obviously you are gonna have to remove the protective lens cover before doing anything with the camera. So I'll just take them off now before I get in the car. And this is not a touchscreen camera. It uses buttons on the bottom. And that is really just to navigate the menu, unless you're using your cell phone, in which case you can just navigate with your cell phone as well if you download the app. And it does come with a micro SD card. Obviously, you push it down to pop it out if you want to remove it. And I do remove it when I do the videos for the driving portion of this. So I do download straight off the SD card rather than using my phone. In the box, you also get some extra sticky pads in case you ever have to remove it and put a new one back on. You do get a trim tool. You also get some of these window clips, and those are just to run your cables through so you don't have cables hanging down in front of your face while you're driving. And I'll mount the camera to the mounting bracket now. You can see that there are some sort of electronic connectors in there, and that is because the rear camera mounts to the mounting bracket. So you can see that there's a little R on the side of the mounting bracket, and the rear camera installs into that. And obviously it is on a swivel, so you can turn it around and move it once you have it installed in the car. And to power the camera, it comes with a 12-volt plug-in, which inserts into the car's 12-volt source, or what is traditionally the cigarette lighter. And the plug-in for the power is just a regular USB-C to plug into the camera. And then for the rear camera, very similarly, it is 2 USB-Cs, and it just plugs into the side of the rear camera. And the rear camera also comes with a protective cover on the lens, so you do have to obviously remove that. Now the power cable and the rear camera, they are both USB-C, but the actual plastic piece around them is a little bit different, so you can't mix up the power and the rear camera when you're plugging it into the front camera. So you can see that the rear has a bit of a strange shape to it, so it's not perfectly oval. Like I said, you just can't mix them up. And really quickly, some of the features. Like I said, you could run 4K up front, and that's what I run pretty much throughout. It has 4 IR lights for the interior facing camera. It does loop recordings, so once the SD card's filled, it'll just go back to the start and start deleting videos, unless of course there's an accident. Like I said, it's 4K, and then once you have everything plugged in, it'll be 1080p rear and then 1080p interior facing. It's got GPS, it has a 3-inch IPS screen, and then it runs 5G Wi-Fi, and it can be controlled off an app. So moving into the car, I'm going to put this little film down first where I want the camera. Super straightforward, it's just a sticker. And then for the camera, same thing. It's really like just putting a sticker on your car, not much different. So very easy to do. I would probably put this a little bit lower to get the interior camera to work a little better, because where I have it, you can see the rear view mirror a little bit. And like I said, these little clips are just used to hold the cable out of the way. I use about 4 of them. I don't really do a full install here because this is my 5th dash cam video on this YouTube channel, so I don't tear my entire car apart every time I do this, but I do want to show at least the basics, and that's what it looks like for a real basic and fast installation on this thing. And then I'm going to turn this on so that I can plug the rear camera in, just so I can get it oriented in the right direction. And when you boot this thing up, it's going to ask you for some time zone stuff, and like I said, you need to use the buttons on the bottom. I think I'm in New York time zone, even though I'm in Canada, but I'll run with New York for now. So just navigate up to it, hit OK, pretty straightforward. And I'm in Canada, so I'll pick kilometers an hour. And once that's done, it pretty much starts up right away. So like I said, I do want to orient the rear camera in the correct orientation so I don't have to mess around with it later. And this is probably just the easiest way to do it. You can change it. It will flip it left to right, and you can do vertical flip once you have everything installed. So rear camera, the same thing. I don't put the window film down. One thing to point out when you're installing the rear camera, just watch out for those defroster lines on your car. If you put it so that the defrost line is right in the middle of the camera, obviously it'll look bad. And then for installation of this, you could use the trim tool. For this vehicle, it's actually pretty easy just to push the cabling in and between the trim pieces on the vehicle. But that's not always the case with all vehicles, so that trim tool is helpful. Now I've just gone off to some random parking lot in the middle of nowhere and just playing with things. So for display on this thing, you could have all three displayed, or you can cycle through it and just have front camera, the rear camera. I don't know why you'd want the interior camera displayed, but that is also an option. So I just leave it on all three things being displayed. And then looking through the menu on this thing, you could change the resolution. So if you want to lower from 4K up front to 2.5K, you could do that, but I'll just leave it at 4K, obviously. You could change how long the loop recording time is. You could change the time. You could change your time zone. You could change your language. GPS info is just how many satellites you're tracking. Your screensaver time, you can keep it on all the time, or you can have it turn off after a while. Screen brightness, obviously, there's a few different settings there. For the rear image setting, like I said, you can flip it left to right, and you can flip it vertically as well. So if you did put your camera on upside down, so everything was upside down, you could change that now in the settings. You could change the G sensor. You could change the speed units. There is a fatigue warning, and just while I'm going through here, I am going to format the SD card. It seems to work without doing the formatting right away, but like I said, I am going to format the card while I'm here. It only takes a second, and that will erase all the data on the card. And then that's pretty much it. You could do the app download as well. You can get the QR code right here on the camera if you don't have the user manual, or if eventually you lose your user manual. So to do the app, like I said, just scan the QR code just like any QR code, and then download their app. Once it's installed, obviously hit open just like any app. Agree to the terms and conditions. And you'll need your camera on at this point, so you can add your camera. Allow GKU Go to access the device, obviously. And eventually your phone will connect to the camera here. Obviously you have to hit OK a bunch of times, connect to Wi-Fi, and then select the GKU Wi-Fi. And the password comes in the manual, and it's pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nothing crazy there. And eventually your phone will connect to that. It should come up as the D1000 camera. And it does a little bit of thinking, and then eventually it'll start working. So all of the settings that you can adjust in the camera, you could also now adjust on your phone. So if you didn't want to do anything with the camera, you could use your cell phone instead. For me personally, I would rather just use the dash cam and do everything, get it set up once and just leave it. But if you really like using your phone for things, then this might be exactly what you want. And you can see that all three cameras are showing on your cell phone as well. And then one additional thing you could do with your cell phone is that you could access all the files that are on the SD card, should you want to do that. So that might be an easier way for you to get the files rather than taking the SD card out of the camera. So that's probably the one thing I like about the cell phone app, is that you can actually get in there and you can use the files on the SD card without having to pop the SD card out of the camera and take it into your house. So if you're driving and you have your cell phone going, I mean, you can see your speed in the cell phone right there, and then obviously you can see that it's tracking the cameras as well. So pretty straightforward. Anyway, getting into the actual images that are provided by the camera, I do black out the speed and the location just in case I'm speeding. But this is the front camera looking forward in 4K during the day. I'm not sure if this is going to come out as 4K once I actually download it. And if you're watching this on a 1080p monitor, obviously it's not in 4K. So the image is very good when I'm viewing it on my 4K monitor. And it is the clearest dash cam I've used. You can read license plates when you're coming up on vehicles, and it does have a pretty wide field of view. And just coming through the intersection, you do have a very good view of pedestrians and a very good view of what's going on. And you could also read storefront signs, street signs, that kind of thing. So super clear image out of the front camera in 4K during the day for sure. And then I just added this daytime shot of the front camera, and this is going pretty much straight towards the sun on a super bright day. So even when there's a ton of glare up front, you can see that the front camera works very well with that 4K setting. Now obviously the rear camera is a 1080p camera, and in addition to that, my back window has a pretty dark tint on it, so that actually sort of negatively impacts the camera, especially at night driving. But during the day, it does produce a pretty good image for a 1080p camera. Actually, this is probably the best rear camera I've had in my vehicle as well. You can see license plates as well with the 1080p camera looking rearward. And then obviously you can see people in their vehicles as well. If they're texting or whatever, you can see if they're at fault, and you can see street signs and stuff, so you could identify where you are. And this is what it looks like inside the vehicle. So you can see I'm observing all traffic laws, and I'm not on my phone. So maybe that's valuable if you get in an accident and someone's trying to accuse you of being on your cell phone or something at the time of the accident. You have this interior camera showing what you're doing. Obviously, if you actually are on your cell phone and in an accident, then you're not going to want to use that as incriminating evidence. But if you're driving properly, obviously it'll be in your benefit. Now, I did go out at dusk as well, and this is the front camera at about 7:30 at night. So sun's just starting to go down. Still plenty of light out, and I think the camera's doing really well in these conditions. You don't get a lot of haloing around any of the lights, and you can still read license plates, that sort of thing. Coming through a mall parking lot area, you could see all the pedestrians, no problem whatsoever. You could read the signs very clearly, and again, you could just see people walking around. And overall, it does a very good job in sort of low light conditions. It's not dark yet, but I'll take it out in those conditions. Rear camera is a little bit degraded at night. Again, the tinted window on the back of my vehicle does affect it, but overall, it does produce a pretty good image quality looking rearward. Now it does go to the IR lighting for the interior pretty early, so it obviously has lost the image color while I'm driving, but that's fine. You can still see inside of the vehicle pretty well in the low light conditions using the IR camera on the interior. And finally, taking it out on a very late night drive, you can see it's 1 o'clock in the morning, so totally pitch black, not a lot of cars out on the road. You can still see fairly well, and this is probably the best no light test that I've done with a camera. So I took this for about a 10-minute drive out into the countryside where there's very, very little light, no street lights. There's just a bit of light coming in off houses and stuff on the side of the road. And it does have a very good field of view, and you can see pretty much as far as the headlights will allow you to see. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of the forward cam at ultra dark settings. And then just coming into a shopping mall area, again, it's about 1:30 in the morning, so very dead, and then obviously there's no light from the sun or the moon in this case, but very good image quality is provided by the forward dash cam. Obviously there's a little bit more haloing around the street lights, that sort of thing, but not excessive, I would say. Now switching to the rear camera, again, tinted window, it is a little bit dark. I don't think at super low light conditions with the rear camera that you could see what somebody's doing in a car behind you anymore. I think that's just during the day because their headlights would obscure the vision of the individual in the car, but you could still see what's going on behind you without any issue. So yes, it is a 1080p camera still, but it is doing a pretty good job for a 1080p rear camera, especially going through a pretty dark tinted rear window. And then last but not least, for the interior view, obviously it's darker again, and then no change for the interior. The IR has removed all the color, but you can still definitely see what's going on the interior of the vehicle. Anyway, overall, I find that this GKU D1000 camera produces very good image quality, forward, rear, and interior. And definitely, I think it's miles ahead of some of the other dash cams that I've tested. Anyway, if you've stuck all the way to the end of this, thanks for checking out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.